Hello everyone, this is Yoko. On this channel, I feel that information about what is happening in China is often not correctly conveyed to countries other than China, so I will be disseminating the information I have gathered in English. I'm getting information from multiple media, so I'd be happy if you could comment on the content of the video. Also, my native language is not English, so I use an AI speaker to create the voice to convey the information correctly. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel and support us. This time, I would like to talk about the large-scale development project Xiongan New Area, which was the dignity of Xi Jinping. Xiongan New Area is a newly created administrative division about 100 kilometers south of Beijing. Xiongan New Area is not a single block. There were several administrative districts called prefectures, but they were integrated to create the Xiongan New District. The reason why it is related to Xi Jinping's Majesty is that the development of the Xiongan New Area is said to be on par with economic stimulus measures and development projects similar to Shenzhen in the era of Deng Xiaoping and Shanghai in the era of Jiang Zemin. Deng Xiaoping had new economic successes in Shenzhen and Jiang Zemin had successes in Shanghai. Xiongan New Area is a project started by Xi Jinping, so I am putting effort into it because it is a big project that I have to show that I am better than Deng Xiaoping and Jiang Zemin. It is a plan announced in 2017 as a long-term project until 2035. At the time the plan was announced, this was a bare area that could not be called an urban area. Development is still underway to create a huge high-tech city here. The Communist Party has shown a plan for what kind of city this Xiongan New Area will become, but it has announced that it will create a high-tech park in the Xiongan New Area without attracting traditional manufacturing industries. It seems that universities, research institutes, and companies related to advanced technology will be gathered to create a smart city that introduces AI, 5G, and IoT. It's not really clear what exactly you're going to do. Unmanned technology is often talked about. For example, unmanned logistics or running unmanned taxis. However, when looking at the city as a whole, it may be difficult to think about whether it will be possible to achieve convenience and comfort that no other city in the world has ever achieved. In recent years, China has not come up with any new products or services that would have an impact on the world from China. The image that many people have of China is seen as copying what has already been developed in other countries. In addition to imitation, there are times when improvements are made, but most of them are imitations or inferior imitations. So even if the Chinese Communist Party takes the lead in creating a smart city that is unprecedented in the world, the idea of a smart city has already existed for quite some time. In the first place, there is also a theory that this plan itself is okay. In the first place, there may be no need to start a business or conduct business activities in Xiongan New Area. In Shenzhen and Shanghai, which I mentioned earlier, there is vitality in the private sector, so there is an aspect that the economy has developed autonomously under the initiative of the private sector. However, the Xi Jinping administration is tightening IT companies. This is putting pressure not only on IT companies, but also on the private sector in general. As private enterprises grow, they will put pressure on the interests of state-owned enterprises, which are the interests of the Chinese Communist Party. For this reason, if we choose to protect the Communist Party or private companies, we will give priority to the Communist Party, which is a state-owned company. In that case, it will be difficult for Xiongan New Area to take advantage of the vitality of private enterprises. The government will take the lead in enlivening this town. For example, you can relocate a university and create a research institute, but if economic principles do not accelerate the movement, you will not achieve much. In the case of private companies, the motivation is high because the development of new technology is directly linked to the profits of the company, but in state-owned companies, the treatment does not change regardless of whether it produces results or not. Rather, if you try something new and don't get results, you will be held accountable, so it will be difficult to develop new technology. Deng Xiaoping was talking about reform and opening up because he knew that the country's economy would stagnate without the vitality of the private sector, so he tried to utilize the power of the private sector. But what Xi Jinping is doing is the opposite. In order to protect the interests of the Communist Party, the private sector is under pressure, and the vitality of the private sector is stagnant. There are many opinions that this plan will end in failure because it is trying to develop the Xiongan New Area in such a situation. You have announced that you will build a large high-tech park where there was nothing before, but I don't think any company would want to conduct research and development and software development where there is no need. Scholars who can be active around the world would not want to stay and study in China under the Xi Jinping administration. The Communist Party is making a lot of publicity, but the movement to actively move to Xiongan New Area is not exciting. However, the Xi Jinping administration has announced that as of 2019, 100 state-owned enterprises will be moved to Xiongan New Area and 4.5 million people will be relocated. If there are no people who voluntarily relocate or migrate, there is a possibility that coercive force will work. By the way, if Beijing continues like this, there is a possibility that there will be a shortage of land, and real estate prices are rising. The communist government used language that seemed to include the transfer of Beijing's capital functions. However, the real estate market in Beijing has been stagnant recently, so there is no need to disperse or relocate to a place 100 kilometers away from Beijing. In this situation, there is no need to say that we should disperse from Beijing to other places. It has been said that the development of this Xiongan New Area, which was under Xi Jinping's dignity due to the sluggishness of the Chinese economy, will be a dangerous development for several years. Since Xi Jinping's dignity is at stake, no one can warn him of the possibility of failure if things continue as they are. Xi Jinping is great because he can build a big city out of nothing. The Communist Party also spent money to build a big city, but if the city fails to function, it will be the biggest waste of money since the Communist Party started. The Chinese fear that there will be talk of forcibly relocating people and businesses to avoid such consequences. And the heavy rain caused by the recent typhoon added another blow to this story. To be precise, the typhoon turned into a tropical depression when it reached northern China, but the rain was so strong that the Xiongan New Area was also flooded. Since it is a newly developed city, it is normal to think that countermeasures against flood damage are in place, but it has suffered considerable damage. This is the extent of Xi Jinping's development. And it raises a lot of suspicions. In order to protect Beijing and Xiongan New Area, each province was sacrificed and submerged. Certainly, the damage caused by this typhoon is extraordinary in other states. Even in Beijing and Xiongan New Area, the roads are flooded beyond our feet, but in other provinces, the city is submerged and it is impossible to move without a boat. It is said that other provinces were submerged when the dam was released to protect Beijing and Xiongan New Area. If true, the roads in Xiongan New Area are still flooded despite the other provinces being victimized by the water discharge. In other words, there is absolutely no protection against flood damage. It is said that the climate in China is likely to be the same as this year or even worse. Water damage in China has become more serious than in the past. Until now, even in Beijing, flood damage had never been so serious. It is said that the imperial court was built in Beijing because it is a land that is not affected by water. But the fact that climate change is flooding even Beijing means that the area around Beijing is becoming unsafe. Why do you have to go to Xiongan New Area when there is water damage every year? I think the general idea is that if possible, it's better to move to land that won't be flooded. Various problems have been pointed out in Xiongan New Area, but this year's floods have added new problems. So people living in Beijing are worried that forced migration will start in a place where no one wants to move. That's all for now. See you next time.